Today on Locked On Red Wings, they tried to do it again, but the comeback fell short as they lost to the Buffalo Sabres 6-3 in regulation, breaking their 2-game skid. And they can't keep relying on comebacks to win hockey games, guys, plain and simple.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I am a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ news radio podcast, while Scotty's the host of Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. Kubalik stick giveaway. It's on our Twitter. Tweet it. Follow us. You'll be entered. There's your daily reminder. We'll be announcing the giveaway winner on Sunday's recording, so technically Monday's episode. So there you go. Happy New Year's to all of you guys as well, because this is our Friday episode. We're recording it Thursday night after the Wings game. So last time you'll be hearing from us until literally January 2nd. So happy New Year's to all you guys.
Happy New Year.
Red Wings lost 6-3. They literally, I think, watching that game felt like deja vu, except for what should have happened yesterday happened today, in which they fell short. And I don't want to sound like too big of a downer, because like yesterday was incredible. Like what happened in that game. And I know you didn't get a chance to talk about it because it's complicated. We had a scheduled day off, but then I got sick. So because I got sick, the reason why I had the day scheduled off didn't happen because I was sick. So I became available, but it was a good thing. But you were still unavailable because your schedule still didn't change. So but either way, we got to do an episode. I got to do an episode after the win.
Thanks for explaining that to everybody. Yeah,
it's complicated, but it ended up being a good thing. But you didn't get to talk about it. Obviously, yesterday's win was incredible. That scoring 5 consecutive goals after a horrid first 20 minutes.
Did you do the gritty?
Awesome. I did not do the gritty. JD from Locked On Sharks was desperately trying to get me to do the gritty during the episode.
Yeah, I'm with them.
I don't know how to do the gritty. Like, I know what it looks like.
Yeah, that's why it'd be funny.
I don't have the... Okay, well...
That's literally the point. That's why I want it to happen.
But yeah, the Wings fell 6-3 today. They desperately tried to reclaim what they did yesterday. It wasn't a good game. They had a good 20 minutes of hockey, and you can't rely on 20 minutes of really good hockey and 20 minutes of really good goal scoring to win hockey games. It's just not how it works.
Yeah, and this is not new. Like, unfortunately, like this is not something that is a last 2 games thing. Like this is something that we've been talking about all season. And even early on, like when they got off to the really hot start and everything, there were some games where like, oh, the 5-on-5 like was really brutal in this one, or they got outplayed for 2 and like came back in the last, like we stole one from the Kings early on. Like obviously yesterday was a thing. And I mean, there were several games in the midst there that all kind of fall under that tree. And so I think that the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway is obviously just like, let's actually play for 60. That'd be awesome. We've been saying that for a couple of weeks now, even before, the last 2 games. We were, we had a couple episodes where we were like, please just give us 60 full minutes. And that's why. But it seems to be, it hasn't happened. Like we're just desperately waiting for and sure, like they've played complete games all the way through and dominated teams, like we smacked the Ducks earlier this year. Like that like certainly it's happened, but consistently playing for 60 is just completely lost on this team, whether it is like the last 2 days where it's been, 2 really brutal periods and then 1 really good one, or 1 in 5 minutes of really good one, or whether it's 2 really good periods and then 1 huge letdown of a third. We've seen that several times this season. So it's just, no matter what combination you do, there seems to be at least 1 period that's just really not like the rest, or I guess just a letdown at some point. There seems to be 1 period that's an outlier, whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, like we've said it earlier in the season. The rhetoric was that the rhetoric that we were saying was that the Red Wings are bad in the third. They can't play well in the third period to solidify wins. They're always on their heels. Really, the truth is on any given night, it's a different period. We saw it last night in the first, and tonight it was the first and the second, but noticeably the second is when 4 of the 5 goals against happened, 6 total, but empty netter at the end.
Yeah.
So they really just pick one period where they just leave the goalie out to dry, and it's it's a free for all, and a lot of that has to do with, like tonight, for instance, noticeably defensive breakdowns, outside. And, Magnus
Brutal.
Hellberg got the start. He didn't play great. I mean, anytime you let in 5 goals against isn't great. There's no making excuses for that. But he certainly was not helped out by how the team was, and not just the defenseman, but how the team was playing defense in front of him. On one of the goals against, and it's hard to keep track of all the goals in my mind. I think it was one of Okposo's goals. Dylan Larkin was out in front. He didn't pick up the man in front, which was Okposo, who just was able to bury it when the feed came out in front. But it's not completely on Larkin's fault, because Larkin was the only guy in front of the net to begin with.
Right.
And so, because both defenders were in the same corner, and it's pretty standard practice to make sure you have one of your defenders in front of the net at all times. Or the defender, this would happen to Hronik a couple times, where he would get out battled in front of the net and allow that player to have
burned inside.
have the inside angle on, and that's a huge no as well. And I play men's league. I'm not trying to sit here and critique how a professional. Well, yes, I am.
No,
I'm trying to critique it. That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
What they do, right?
But you don't ever want to give the player the inside angle, and that's been a recurring problem as well defensively, is that a lot of these forwards on the opposing teams are able to get the inside angle on our goaltenders, be it Hellberg, Nedeljkovic, or Husso, for the easy backdoor goal. The first goal by Casey Middlestat was a perfect example of that easy backdoor goal.
Beautifully executed, for whatever it's worth. But
because Phil Pronik got out muscled for the inside angle. I mean, your job is to keep players. There should never be a player between you and your goalie, because that's how you're going to defend that. You can't. The only way to defend that is to either lift your stick or push him on top of your goalie, which is another big no-no, because you end up hurting your goalie, but players still do it. So it's just defensive breakdowns it was just a horrible defensive effort all the way around for the first 2 periods of that game.
Yeah, no, and this isn't to say that this was some incredible goalie performance. I know that you and I kind of get labeled as like the hardcore goalie defenders a lot, and
which I'm okay with.
Right, and while I'm not saying that, I don't think either of us are saying that this was some, great performance in net, but at the same time, man, I mean, you were spot on. Like this was just defensive breakdown after defensive breakdown. I mean, the difference between, in my eyes, the difference between a backup or a fringe NHL goalie and like a starter is, if you have the ability to reach the NHL as a goaltender, you can probably save almost all of the low danger opportunities, right? And then the medium danger opportunities, you're probably expected to save most of those too, okay? What separates the bona fide, like 1A or just one first on the depth chart, like the top tier goalies, and then the backup goalies or the fringe NHL goalies, is how often are you saving the high danger opportunities? That is what separates at the NHL level. That's what separates those two, I guess, tiers, positions, whatever. And you cannot expect any goalie on this roster, like, I don't want to say unfortunately, but like the situation we're in, anybody not named Ville Husso that's in between the pipes, you were just at a point where you can't expect them to just crush the high danger opportunities and just like save everything of the high danger. And this was an immense defensive breakdown for the first 2 periods. Like it was just one after another. And it seemed like just consistently Buffalo had a dude right in front of the net. It wasn't even like high slot. It wasn't the faceoff circle. It was right in front of the net over and over and over again, with 0 Detroit Red Wings players in front of the net for the first 2 periods. And, we only got outshot by like 4 or 5, but the quality of shot matters. And it was just a really brutal defensive performance.
This is absolutely, Scotty, one of those games where you look at the quality shot attempts and that makes all the difference.
100%.
Because, I mean, I'm going to pull, I haven't done this a lot this year, but look at the heat map, man. The heat
let's
map
bring back
tells
the
it
heat
all.
map, man. I miss it.
Let me zoom in a little bit to the opposite of that. But this shows exactly where all 4 of Buffalo's even strength goals came.
I mean, look at that.
They came within the slot. And then
what are we talking about?
Look at the Sabres shot attempts. Just the literal heat map of it. It's a giant red blob in the entirety of the slot, and the far end of the spectrum represents, so that where it's red, where it's hot, represents 3.75 plus shot attempts, and that's all within the slot. So yeah, you're looking at this where the shot attempts were close, but in this game in particular, it's all about the quality of the shot attempts. And the Buffalo Sabres, this is completely representative of how poor the Red Wings defense was and how porous it was.
Yeah, it was Swiss cheese in front of the net, man.
They couldn't stop anyone from receiving a pass. They couldn't stop anyone from making a pass. They couldn't stop anyone from shooting up the puck. It was just so like, yeah, Magnus Hellberg, should he have stopped 1 or 2 more? Maybe, probably. But at the same time, you don't do him any favors when you put him in a situation like that. So that's why I'm okay with being labeled a goalie defender, because how do you expect your goalie to make saves when your heat map looks like that? Right. When you allow that many high danger opportunities in a game. He faced 8 high danger shots at 5-on-5. That was at 5-on-5 alone. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you break down the total shots that they had in this game,
it's like 35.
Yeah, like 35. So that's a really high percentage amount of your shots that come in high danger situations.
Yeah,
and that's
just under
just
a quarter of your shots, just under a quarter of your shots, just under 1 of every 4 shots is a high danger opportunity. That's not good over 60.
Luukkonen only had 4 high danger opportunities or high danger shots against. So yeah, it was not a great game defensively. Absolutely horrible breakdown. We got to get to a break. We're already over time. But when we come back, we'll continue talking about this. And then in segment 3, game preview for the New Year's Eve game against the Ottawa Senators. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's not a big deal. What are the odds you get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, or you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are often tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Man, where do you want to go from here when talking about this game? I mean, obviously the Red Wings scored 3 goals. We can talk about the few players who I thought did shine in this.
Yeah, I want to let's talk good. We spent a whole segment talking about, what went wrong. Let's talk about some good.
So obviously Kubalik scored 2 goals, which is nice to see because he's definitely cooled off since the start of the season. But I think really the shining light in this game continues to be the rookies and Joe Veleno, who's in his sophomore season. That line, and I know that the lines got completely shuffled. They don't play together this entire game. But yesterday's game, if you lump that in, they are really making a case for themselves to not get sent down to Grand Rapids. And I think, unfortunately, it just comes down to waiver exemption in the end. And all 3 of those guys are. If Bertuzzi, Fabry, and Vrana all come back around the same time, which, I mean, Bertuzzi we haven't got an update on. February we haven't got an update on. Vrana we know is just right around the corner. But Veleno had another assist in this game. He had an assist in yesterday. Did he have a goal or an assist in yesterday's? He had a goal in yesterday's game. Sorry, guys. Trying to remember. It was Sherratt's beautiful fake shot around Crosby.
Beauty.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Berger had a goal yesterday. Soderblom had a beautiful assist in today's game. Those young guys are forming a very effective bottom 6 line, and it's going to be a really tough pill to swallow when they're the ones who end up getting sent down.
100%. And I mean, in this game specifically, well, I guess I didn't get a chance to talk about how good I thought Berggren looked yesterday. I thought Jonathan Berggren was
Oh, he's so NHL ready.
sensational in yesterday's. Well, I have to choose my wording. You're listening to this tomorrow, so
The game against Pittsburgh.
right in the Penguins game, Berggren looked fantastic. In the Buffalo game, I thought that Soderblom was amazing, and I think that as he continues to get more experience, he's figuring out how to utilize. And I've said this a million times, but like he's continuing to learn how to utilize his size to his advantage on the defensive end, and we're already seeing almost on a nightly basis something that he's pulling off on the offensive end. His assist in this game was an absolute beauty. I mean, just back forth, right in front of the net. Like he really is. You know, if the stick handling is there and the skating is even above average, he's going to be a player in this league for a very, very long time. And so, yeah, man, it's a good problem to have, though. We've talked about depth. We've talked about why depth is necessary. We've talked about why depth is a good thing to have with this team. And yeah, 100%. If it sucks, but at the end of the day, it's a very, very good problem to have when you're looking around going, oh, we have too many NHL players. Like that's something that we haven't been able to say for years. So like it sucks, but if you want a glass half full it, like it's kind of cool too.
No, I completely agree. And Elmer Soderblom, for what it's worth, was the second best player on the team when you talk about expected goals for percentage. So when you talk about the at 5-on-5, when you talk about at even strength, the quality of the shots taken percentage ratio, he was second best on the team at 68.45%. Expected goals for 0.64 and expected goals against of 0.29, which was the third best expected goals against on the team in this game. He was only second in that category to Jordan Osterley and Oli Mata, who were 1 and 3 on the expected goals for percentage meter. So it goes Mata, Soderblom, and Osterley, and then Joe Veleno right behind that as your top 4 in expected goals for percentage. So, I mean, and also shout out Jordan Osterley. He had a great game, which is
Jordan Osterley.
You got to take him when you can get him because you're not going to get him that often, I don't think, out of Osterley. I'm not trying to hate on him, but just recognizing what he is. Yeah, Soderblom's looked really good. Joe Veleno's looked really good. I mean, I don't need to hit it over the head too much. They've been playing very well, and it definitely adds an interesting thing. And you know, I talked about it at the beginning of the season. You know, maybe you decide to waive a player and risk losing him. Adam Ernie is the guy I brought up in the past. Mm-hmm. Went through a little stretch there where he was, you know, not producing but playing.
Lead the team in hits, baby. You better watch yourself.
Yeah, but he's had 3 pretty rough games.
100% kidding, yeah.
Yeah, I know. The game against Tampa, he had a turnover that led to a goal against. He was on the special teams on the game against Pittsburgh that led to a goal against. Now, and I understand at full strength he's not on special teams, or he shouldn't be. And then in this game, you know, he was a negative 27.53 relative, and then a 13.9% expected goals for the third worst in the team. So like Adam Ernie's not part of your future anyways. So maybe, and I know he leads the team in hits, and that's kind of an important category to have. Like have one of those guys who's going out there and laying the body. For sure. But if he's negatively impacting your team, like maybe you risk losing him on waivers over sending a guy like who's NHL ready, like Joe Veleno or Jonathan Berggren, in that order over Adam Ernie, you know?
No, for sure. Look, I'm not sure that's going to happen, but if it does, I don't think anyone's upset. Like, I don't think anyone would be upset about that happening because, like you said, like, you're giving the kids more opportunities.
Nolan would be. He's an Adam Ernie truther.
Okay, well, yeah. Nolan.
He bought the one Adam Ernie jersey we had at LCA when I worked there. We had one, and he bought it.
Sounds about right.
So, yeah, I mean, you look at the roster construction and you go, like, Joe Veleno and especially Jonathan Berggren, he just looks like
so good, man. Like, I don't think you can justify sending Berggren down.
Like, I think you could justify sending Soderblom down because there are still like some things I watch when I watch him play that needs to be
for sure
done.
And like he's already been kind of like missed time and been kind of up and down and stuff.
And like notably, I think that he needs to work on lowering his center of balance because he gets rocked way too much for a guy who's 6'8". But it's just because he's so light and because he's so tall, his center of balance is so high. He's always getting knocked over. But, like that's just nitpicky things. I mean, he looks pretty close to being like an everyday NHL ready player. And he looked good in this game. So it's a great predicament to have. But anyways, I'm starting to talk in circles. Kubalik had 2 goals in this game. That's great to see after a sluggish pace for him. Hopefully, he can get, I always hesitate saying get back on the horse because of that stupid inside joke we have.
What's the horse's name, Brian?
Well, it is Friday after all. So
look at that.
But yeah, he looked good in this game. He had those 2 goals for. So he's an offensive goal scorer and he scored goals. That's what you signed him to do.
Yeah, no, he looks really good. I mean, it was one of those. Nobody really looked good in the first 2 periods, but yeah, no, I mean, great positioning and took advantage of the opportunity there. And yeah, like we always say, he has no fear. He does not fear shooting the puck, so that's a good thing.
Playing defense, one fear.
Fair enough.
He's still projected. Hey, you know what? I'm looking at his ESPN stats. He's still projected for 25 goals and 40 assists for 65 points. So I would take that in a heartbeat. Minus 12, though, is what he's projected to be. So maybe.
Honestly, if that's a projection over 82, I don't think that's that bad.
Oh, no. I mean, just the point total in general would make that signing worth it.
Yeah,
65 points for a guy
honestly,
like
even if he kind of flatlines from here on out, I think it's already like he got hot at one point this season. Yeah. Like we have to remember what he was last year.
Well, I think what we predicted, like between 15 and 20, I think is what we predicted. And he's 5 goals away from 15. I think he's easily going to hit that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's a win regardless, for sure. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we want to point out from this game before we move into our game preview?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
Win the face-offs. Win the dang face-offs for once.
Yeah, there you go.
Which they did yesterday. And they dominated that game outside the first period.
Yeah, big time.
It matters. It matters.
Especially like special teams, but which is like fairly obvious, but helps so much in the opponent's zone, man. Like that's such an insanely like valuable thing to have on your team.
Yeah.
Bring back Goose. Sorry.
Who's for sure. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. When we come back, I can't really hear. Because I'm still sick. Can't hear anything.
I'm just gonna whisper stuff now.
Please don't. I have headphones in and I still can't hear out of my radio. It's ridiculous. When we come back, we'll do the game preview for the game against the Ottawa Senators on New Year's Eve. Stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. You know what I was just thinking there when I said Red Wings? When I was really little, I had trouble saying my R's like a lot of people do. And so I'm always...
Wed Wings?
Yes. And so I'm always paranoid. I'm going to say Wed Wings on the podcast and not notice it. And so like just now when we went to break, I was like, I'm like, no, I said Red Wings. It's because that W in wings tricks me up. And I'm like, did I say no?
Wings, baby.
The Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings still struggle sometimes. I talk too fast. Let's see. They're playing the Ottawa Senators in Saturday's game against the Detroit Red Wings, and should be the third matchup, but is their second matchup after the second matchup got postponed. And Scotty,
what word did you just say? Also, can we talk about how you said did this as 2 at the beginning of the show? What was that? You were holding up the number 2 when you went like this, dude. That's not okay.
It doesn't matter.
It bothered me for 25 minutes.
No, you got me coughing.
Oh wow, he's really coughing. That's not good. Oh, okay. No, yeah, he's really struggling.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
I'm back.
Yeah,
we're good.
It's been bothering me for 25 minutes now, and
I'm glad you brought that up at the end of the show. Can we talk about the Senators? Jeez, Louise.
Yeah, we know about the Senators, man.
Yeah, thanks. Good Lord. Where's this game happening at? It's happening in Detroit. First of all, let's get that out of the way.
Yes.
The last time these two teams played against each other, again, Red Wings played pretty well through like a period and a half and then just absolutely crapped the bed afterwards. Lost 6-3. That was amidst their 6-game losing streak. Ottawa Senators, again, not a team you should underestimate. They're exactly 500 on the record, slightly above that with their point percentage, 16, 16, and 3, 7th in the Atlantic Division. But don't let that fool you. That bottom 5 in the division is very tight points-wise. So they're right behind the Red Wings, despite the Red Wings being 4th. Brady Tkachuk leads the team in points, 37 points in 34 games played. Batherson, 33 and 34. DeBrincat, 33 and 34. Goaltending-wise, Cam Talbot having a hell of a season, 915 save percentage in 20 games played. So good for him. Backups-wise, they're doing like a tandem thing, like straight up just 1 and 2, or not 1 and 2, but like 1A, 1B. Anton Forsberg's gotten 17 starts, which is 3 less than Talbot. He's got a 906 save percentage. So, they got a backup who can actually stop the puck occasionally, which is really nice. Got to be a luxury for sure. That was a shot. That was a
brutal
shot.
Today.
That was a shot, absolutely. But yeah, when you're talking about the Ottawa Senators, man.
Well, I mean, this is something we can just repeat what we talked about last time. This is one of the best special teams units in the entire NHL, and like they got off to their death taxes and a horrible first month and a half of the season. That's like Ottawa's thing. The 3 guarantees in life. So they're past that time of the year. So they've been playing a little bit better than they did the first month and a half of the year. But yeah, this is a almost 2 top 5 special teams units. I think they're like 3rd in power play and 7th or 8th in PK. Like this is a very, very good special teams, and also really, really good in the faceoff circle. One of the 4 or 5 best teams in the league at that. So, I mean, this is really highlighting the things that the Detroit Red Wings do not necessarily do very well on a consistent basis. So always a tall task. Everybody loves comparing these 2 teams. We've talked about the Sens at length over the last year and a half. So, it's always kind of fun when they play each other for that reason.
Well, and what sucks is the Red Wings are at this point now where you look at the Ottawa Senators and you should say that's a win. That should be a win.
Sure.
There's a lot of other teams like that too. I would say the Buffalo Sabres are like that, but they're not playing like that team that you can look at a team and go, that's a win. So when you do these game previews, it's really tough to look at the team and go, this is how you're going to beat them. Or say this player is going to be your X factor. It's really hard to predict how this team's going to play on any given night. So when you're previewing the Ottawa Senators, you look at the 8th best Corsi for percentage at 5-on-5 in the league. So that they take a lot of shot attempts.
Good special teams, good at 5-on-5, and
and we knew that about them. They're a team that the puck has, again, like you said, Scotty, an abysmal first month of the year is why they're so far behind in the standings, but they're not a bad hockey team. And the Red Wings are abysmal at even strength. So it's like, I got to say the same thing I say every single game preview at this point. It's like, you got to play a complete 60 minutes if you want to try and beat this team, or, rely on a period and a half plus overtime of really, really good hockey and making a miraculous comeback.
In that, and then just ball out for the third and hope good things happen. Yeah.
You just got to play perfect mistake-free hockey. And that's such a hard ask to ask of any team, especially this team, but that's how you're going to win hockey games. And that's how you're going to beat teams like the Ottawa Senators. Not to say they're one of the best teams in the league. They're definitely not one of the worst, but it's frustrating when you try to do a game preview and you have to go back and be like, I can't pinpoint anything that the Red Wings do really, really well right now because their power play is inconsistent from night to night. They do pretty good at scoring, at least I'd say one
period really, really well.
Yeah. And so it's pick your period. You want them to play a good first?
Right. Do you want them to get onto an early lead and then be terrible in the third, or do you want to have a comeback type of an arc?
Well, see, I think I'd rather have them do a really good game in the first period, because usually what happens in those instances is we lose in overtime. So we get a point at least, which is why the Red Wings have 7 overtime losses.
Or Husso stands on his head and we, pull one out like in Tampa.
We win 2-0.
Right. And we just give up a 40-shot third period, but we still hold on to the victory.
Husso's groin is torn to shreds.
Right, yeah.
After the game is over. So guys, I wish I had some magic formula for you. And I'm not really down that bad on the team. Point percentage wise, they're still right where I expected them to be and expect them to be at the end of the season.
We keep reiterating that.
As hard as it can be to see, in this stretch where in the last 9 games, they've only won 2 No. Yeah. They're 2-7 in their last 9. So I guess you would say 3-7 in their last 10.
Oh,
Excuse me. Sorry about
Mike. That was tough.
It came on too fast. So yeah, I lost.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's.
So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's going back at it. Wow, this is really good thing we're done with the show. I think that's everything, man. I think you can let's give you a break.
I think I'm gonna die. Over under 6.
Over.
I think we'll go over 2. The Red Wings have been scoring a lot of goals recently. So let's definitely go. That's 3 straight games of at least 3 goals.
Yeah, they've also been giving up a ton. When was the last time they even hit the under? Like November? I mean,
I think during their 6-game losing streak.
Let's see. This game over, last game over, Lightning over, Caps over, Sens over. The last time the under hit was when they lost to the Wild on December 14th, and that was still 5. So
you're 5. Shut up.
Okay.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Brutal.
We'll be back on Monday. We'll announce the stick giveaway then. Kubalik scoring 2 for the stick giveaway. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
You're 5.